Hello everyone, welcome to my tutorial on how to build a Redstone CPU. In this first video we will be discussing the basic components to Redstone and the various logic gates associated with building a CPU. I'll also go over some basic conventions that I'm going to use in the rest of the videos just to keep things clean and more organized. So let's begin. So one of the most basic Redstone pieces is the lever. It's a two-state input device. It has two states, on or off. A Redstone just carries a signal from one of the input devices. It degrades over time, so if you go out 15 blocks, it'll degrade enough that there's no more signal being carried. So you do need to make sure that you either strengthen the signal as you go on, or put your things close enough that you don't have to strengthen it. The redstone torch essentially inverts the signal coming into it. So we have an off signal, so the torch is on. Turn the signal on, torch goes off. Pretty simple. The repeater strengthens and delays the signal, so if we turn it on, it delays it a little bit. You couldn't really see the delay, but if we change it by right-clicking it and set it to 4, you can see a noticeable delay. It's got 4 states, 1, 2, 3, 4, and those are each a tenth of a second, so on number 4, you get 4/10ths of a second delay. So, yeah, that's that. Here's a basic OR gate. OR means if either this one or both are on, then the output is on. And this one is the most simple. You basically just have 2 lines of redstone and they go into one. The bad thing about this one is if I turn on one input, you get some signal going into the other input, which is it's bad in a lot of cases. So fix to that would be to have something like this where the repeaters won't allow signal to go back into them. So this allows you to make sure your inputs stay sanitary and you still get the correct output. Later in these videos, I'm going to be using a lot of one-wide logic gates, and so this is essentially just a one-wide OR. See, it's only one wide. So you can turn it on and off. Yeah. AND gate only turns on if both inputs are set to on. So, see, only one is on, both are on, it turns on. Pretty simple. This is a one-wide AND gate, similar to the OR gate, but there's quite a few torches in it, or only 3, but still. This is an XOR gate. An XOR gate is one of the more important and more difficult gates to build. It's essentially you can only have one input on at a time. If you have both on, it turns off. So, yeah. And here's a one-wide version of it. Like I said, we'll be using a lot of one-wide gates because they're pretty important. Especially if you're trying to make things compact, it's much neater to have one-wide gates. So next up is the NOT gate. I wasn't going to include it because it's essentially just a redstone torch, but just for the sake of completeness, here it is. It outputs the opposite of whatever the input is. So, and just for old time's sake, here's an old repeater. It uses 2 NOT gates to just continue the signal. It's slower than a regular repeater, and it's obviously a lot bigger, so it's a good thing they added normal repeaters, otherwise we'd be stuck making a bunch of these. Now on to some basic conventions I'll use. I've got 4 colors here, as you can see. I use blue for busing, so like carrying the signal over a distance where it's not actually doing any operations to it. We'll be using blue for that. Green, gates, we'll be using it to make the logic gates. Green gates both have the same start, same with blue. Blue bus, kind of the same thing going on there. Orange we'll be using for output, so again, these 3 share the same first letter as their purpose. And purple, doesn't really make sense why I chose it, but it's for inputs, and I was trying to think of something that started with an I that was a color, and indigo came to mind, and that's kind of a purpley color, so that was the reason I chose it. But you'll see some of these used in the next video, so just watch it. Thank you.